it's Michelle from the Trace of Motherhood. Welcome to Adoption Vlog Tuesday. Yes, I am wearing pajamas. I tried to film this like 500 million times and was interrupted by my phone, my dog, or everything else. And then I was rambling and then yeah. So I'm going to try not to ramble. I'm trying to make this quick and try not to get interrupted. The dog has his bone, the phone ringer is off, and I'm going to try not to ramble. So hopefully I will get this done. So anyway, by request, you know who you are. I am doing an adoption process video. I talked about it briefly in my adoption expenses. I kind of went through the expenses, which kind of broke down the process, but I thought I would talk about this in more detail. This is for Manitoba. If you live somewhere outside of Manitoba or yeah, any other state, country, province, some of this may be different. Also, this is for domestic private adoption. If you're doing domestic public adoption, which is through your Child and Family Services, or if you are doing international adoption, this will also be different. So your best bet is to check with your local agencies to see what the process is. But if you do have any questions, feel free to post them down below and I can try to find answers for you. But basically, the domestic private process is roughly the same no matter where you are. So the first is for anyone, is the application. Obviously, you need a starting point, and application is that. So usually you have your meeting with your agency, and you pay the money and you put in your application. You can't do anything until you apply. So that is the first step. Your second step is your classes. I've never seen anywhere that you don't need classes. The classes do vary if you're doing public, private, or international. So if you decide later to switch, you have to take different classes. So like right now I'm doing private, but eventually I might switch to public or international. So it might, I would have to redo the classes because everything's going to vary. Mostly because there's different circumstances. With public adoption, you might have an older child or siblings and different stuff. With international, you obviously have cultural differences, unless you're adopting from the country that you're from or your own culture. And then with domestic private, it's usually newborns, so there's no real, it's different than having an older child or even just an infant from a different country. Your next step is home study. This is broken down into two parts. The first part is usually more like one-on-one questioning, maybe not like interrogation or anything, but it's like more if you need counseling for anything, for infertility, making sure that both people, if you're in a couple, are on board for adoption, anything you might be struggling with in terms of wanting to adopt versus the inability to have your own child. For me, it's probably going to be mostly focused on the fact that I'm single, so who's going to be helping me, what support systems I have in place. You also do your police check at this point, and probably some other stuff that I just don't know of. I obviously haven't gotten to that point yet. When I do, I'll probably fill you guys in. The second part of the home study is the home visit. When most people think of home study, that's what you probably assume or you imagine is the home visit. Again, it varies by agency. I've heard even just within one province or state, different agencies have different requirements. Sometimes you have to have baby proof. Sometimes you need to have, I've heard for sure that you need a smoke detector. Some you need a fire extinguisher. Some you need a baby proof. In terms of bedrooms, if you are adopting domestic private, you know that your child's going to be a newborn. So most will allow you to share a bedroom with the child until they're, I think, 3. So that's usually not an issue, but obviously with public or with international, it varies because it's based on what your child ages. And also, if your child is the same gender of your current child, there's different requirements than if they are going to be the opposite gender of your child. So bedroom requirements, making sure that the bedrooms are big enough, and all that sort of fun stuff. If you have animals, making sure that they are safe. Everyone who is over the age of 18 usually needs to have a police check done. So say you, your partner plus your partner's mom you all live together. That means all 3 of you need to have your police check done. Usually, I don't know about the states, but with Canada, it's usually your police clearance plus your vulnerable sector check. If you don't know what that is, you can check with your local police department. I got that done for my job recently, like a month ago. So I don't know if I can keep that going with that or if I need to get a new one done, but I'm going to check that out when I go down at the end of May. So that is the home study process. After that is usually your Dear Birth Mom letter, your profile, all that fun stuff has to be done. With private adoption, your birth mother chooses you to be the adoptive parent. So you need to have stuff for the mother to look at in order to narrow down who you are. I'm not sure if all agencies do profiles. For the one that I'm working with, I know they at least do the Dear Birth Mom letters, which I personally don't like, just because I feel like they're kind of just a standard Dear Birth Mom, blah, 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 whereas the profiles allow more personality to it. So I hope that I can use my profile. I've started working on one just in case, so I hope that I can, because I think it just lets the birth mom see who you are way more than just a couple words on a page, right? So some states and provinces allow you to pay for advertising as well. Manitoba is not one of those. It's actually illegal, and I believe the fine is like something ridiculous, like $200,000 or $20,000 plus possible jail time or something silly. But anyway, it is not one that you can do advertising. If you are in a state or a province that allows you to do advertising, this is when you usually do it. Once your home study is approved, you are able to do that because you're now basically in the hurry up and wait period where you're waiting for a birth mom to choose you. So during this time, if you are in a place that you can advertise, you definitely should be, because I find that competition is higher. There's more competition with advertising because more birth moms will, there's more ways to reach a birth mom versus just doing it through your one agency. Like in my case, the birth mom availability is only with this agency. So me not advertising is not going to matter because they're going to find me through this agency. That's the only option. Versus with places with advertising, not only can they find you through the agency, but they also are able to find couples through advertising. So you don't want to kind of just limit yourself to just the agency because you don't know if the birth mom's even going to see it through the agency. There's birth moms that find adoptive parents through the advertising. The next step is getting a match. So at this point, you are matched up with the birth mom, or the birth mom's matched up with you. This is either before the child is born, or sometimes after, if the birth mom has decided to place either at birth, like she's given birth and now decided to place, or sometimes like a week or two after. You then usually meet with the birth mom and you have a meeting. If you don't have a meeting with the birth mom, you will have a meeting with your agency and basically go over like if there's any special needs, if there's anything that you need to be aware of, like drug exposure or anything like that. Just to basically go over everything about the child, and at that point you can decide if you want to move ahead with the adoption or if you don't. So your next step would then be placement, where you actually have the child placed with you. Usually there is a point, I believe it's around 48 hours for most places. I know it's 48 hours for Manitoba, but where the birth mom or birth parents have to wait before signing over. So basically the birth mom is given birth, 48 hours later she can now sign consent for the adoption. Otherwise they won't allow it to happen before that time, basically to give her time to like think it over a bit, instead of like baby's popped out, now here, sign these papers. There's usually a 48-hour waiting period. After that has passed, you then have a waiting period of, usually I've seen mostly around a month. Mine is 21 days. Again, it varies by province, state, country. And obviously this is different for international and public. But that is the waiting period before you can get full custody, basically, where during that time period the birth parents can change their mind. So with Manitoba it's 21 days, so during that time you cannot leave your province or state. Maybe some states you're allowed to leave, I'm not sure, but with Manitoba I'm not allowed to leave Manitoba during that 21 days. Just in case the birth mom changes her mind and I need to hand the child back, which hopefully will not be the case. But So you have that like waiting period. Then the final step is finalization. After the birth, that 21 days, the birth mom can't change her mind. So there's really no risk of you losing that child. Usually your social worker or your agency will come visit you between that time from placement all the way up to finalization. So obviously if you're harming the child, or the child's just not a good fit, maybe it has special needs and you're not able to care for it during that time, obviously you might lose custody of it at that point. But really after that waiting period until finalization, there's not a chance of you losing the child. So for me, I don't know the exact time frame, and I know it varies. Most I've seen around about a year from placement to finalization. Sometimes it's shorter, like 6 months. It all just varies based on wait times at courts and whatnot. So this is the actual court process where you need to basically have your finalization done. I know a lot of places in Manitoba or in Canada allow you to get passports before that. Your birth certificate, if you're adopting privately, so at birth, birth certificates usually are not issued for people that know that they're adopting until finalization. The reason for that is they don't want to have to print out a birth certificate for the birth mother and then print off another one for the adopted parents. Obviously it's different if there's older children, but with private adoption it's usually infants, newborns, so yeah, they don't like to do that. So there's usually some forms that the birth mother can fill out that will allow you to get a passport prior to finalization, because otherwise, like, that's like a year. It's a long time to not be allowed to do anything, especially for someone like me who is traveling from Manitoba to Ontario. Passport, I need some sort of documentation stating that that child is allowed to leave with me. Otherwise, I highly doubt they're going to let me go on a flight without it. Also, we shop in the States and stuff a lot, so I need some documentation. So anyway, so that is a quick overview. So I'll just go through it again. There's the application, then there is the classes, the home study, which is broken down into those two parts. Then you have your whole profile and your advertising and stuff to basically get the birth mom to pick you. And then once you're picked, you have your match. Then you have the interview, the meeting with the birth mom or with just your agency. After that, you're allowed to have placement. Then after the baby is placed with you, usually around 48 hours, then the birth mother can sign off consent. And then usually about a month after that is when they can no longer revoke their decision to place the child. And then usually about a year total is when you can do finalization. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them down below. I hope that answered or described or helped understand most of the process. It really doesn't seem like a whole lot, except like most of it is at the beginning and most of it's at the end. There's like, from your home study to placement is like this long gap of like nothing. So it's like hurry up and wait to be waiting, and then once you're done waiting, hurry up and wait to be in that time period before finalization, and then finally finalization. So the process varies. In the States, I know it's a lot faster because you guys have more birth mothers. Here in Canada, birth mothers are not allowed to be paid anything. In the States, you guys can pay the birth mother expenses, whereas in Canada, it's not allowed. So that's where here I'm going to be paying about $10,000 in agency and legal fees. In the States, it's more like $60,000 altogether because you're allowed to pay more things. Plus, with advertising adds to your budget and whatnot too. I know it does vary by state, but it also makes it faster too. I'm looking at between 4 and 6 years, roughly, depending on when I'm chosen, obviously. But that's kind of like the end zone is 4 to 6 years. Whereas I've heard really short waits in the States, like 6 months to a year on average. Obviously, it varies depending on what you're willing to take, gender, race, special needs, and stuff like that. Shorten waits. But really it just comes down to waiting for someone to choose you. So anyway, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to post them down below, and thanks for watching. Bye.